The Icons of Real Estate Podcast. Are you ready to learn the proven money-making secrets from EXP's top-producing icon agents? If you are an ambitious EXP agent ready to skyrocket your business, this podcast is for you. Tune in every week with your host, Tomas Fonseca, and find out how to implement proven strategies to 10 times your EXP business, from $3 million to $30 million in just 12 months. Brought to you by the Masters in Real Estate Marketing, Arter SEO.
Hello guys, I'm Tomas with the Real Estate Masters Summit. We are here today on the EXP mini-series, and our guest is Kyle Handy, a passionate real estate agent and expansion team leader. Kyle has a great journey that you'll hear about. It all started with his real estate license at the tender age of 17, then from founding his own indie brokerage to joining EXP Realty. Last week, his EXP organization team hit 500 agents, 500, gentlemen. And right now he's here with us with the Real Estate Master Summit. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Welcome to the show, Kyle.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that intro. Yeah, it's been a fun journey. It's been a, quick 4 years. Like I've been at EXP and it's just gone by like this. So to see like what has been possible in that short amount of time, it's just been pretty fascinating. So.
Great. And now you're here on the show. So yes, the journey always keeps on going.
That's right. That's right. Very cool.
And that's actually where I wanted for you to start, so we can get to know a little bit better of yourself and your experience. Can you tell us your real estate journey?
Yeah, absolutely. So, basically, I got my license really early on. I didn't start using it right away. I actually went and graduated from college here. So, I got my license, but then I went back and finished up school. I got my degree in finance and graduated in 2008. And so, but at that time, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do with my degree. And so I was like, well, let me try this real estate thing. My mom happened to know somebody that was doing real estate. So she was like, why don't you go check out and get an interview? And we all know 2008 was like the best time to get started in real estate, right? Like it was like the worst, and but it was actually, I'm so blessed, so thankful that that's actually, when I got started, because it was just a unique experience because, here I am graduating from college, and I'm coming into the industry. And I remember I was working for a home builder at first, and they were telling me my starting salary was $24,000 a year. And for me, I was like, yeah, this is awesome. Like, this is amazing. And other, people that had been in the business for like 10 plus years, they were used to making hundreds of thousands of dollars, and their income was getting super, slashed because of the market. And so it was just different perspective. And so since then, obviously the market has gone up. So every year has gotten better for me. And I'm like, man, I'm really glad that I kind of started in that to kind of see, I wasn't jaded. Right. And, but then from there, in new home sales, I did that for about 5 years, from 2008 to 13. And then in 13, that was when we were about to have our first kids. And I thought to myself, like, I love new home sales. Like I love the money coming from it, but I wanted more freedom. Like that was my thing, is like, I wanted time freedom. I wanted to be able to spend time with my kids, who I knew eventually would be having soccer games and parties and stuff like that. And I was like, man, if I'm working every weekend, some nights I'd get home at 10 o'clock at night. I was like, something's got to change. And so I was like, I'm going to go and I'm going to get into general real estate, because I saw all these agents, while I was in new home sales. I was like, man, their job is so easy. Like, they just come in and bring their clients, and I sell them on why they need to buy a new home. I was like, they've got it easy. So that's why I thought about it. And I was like, well, let me get into general real estate. But then not just getting into general real estate, I ended up just going straight in and starting up my own real estate brokerage, which, I mean, that thinking back now, like I was like, oh my gosh, why would I have ever done that? But I didn't know what I didn't know at the time. And so it just seemed like a good idea.
How old were you at the time?
At the time, let's see. So this was 13. So I guess, man, I was 20. Oh, how old was I? 27, 28, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, I was like 27. So I started my own brokerage, and I was like, because the thing is I was like, look, I don't want to just be an agent, because if I'm just an agent, then, I'm still going to have to be, out there selling. And I wanted to like build something at scale, like where I could leverage other people's, time and efforts, and still, be able to kind of make a living like that. And so then at the time, I thought that was the best way to do it, was to start up a brokerage. And so, I did that. I had my brokerage for 4 years, from 13 to 17. And it was not what I expected. Like, it was so much different. Like, I mean, it was a good experience. I learned a lot. But there was just one of those things where, um, I was spending a ton of money. My overhead was like $20,000 to $25,000 per month, because I had a physical brick and mortar office. I had employees. We had, CRM systems that I was paying for. And at the height of it, I had about 15 agents. But, as we all know, not every agent's, productive and successful. So out of those 15, I probably had 4 or 5 that were actually like really selling stuff. And the money that was coming in was just not enough to cover the overhead. And then on top of that, I got named in like a lawsuit twice, and it was just like for deals that I didn't even do. It was just agents and it was like a big learning experience. And I was like, oh my gosh, something's got to change here. Like I got into this business, or I started up my brokerage because I wanted freedom. And honestly, like I was spending more time than I was even back when I was in new home sales, trying to run my brokerage. I was still actively selling real estate myself as well. And so there's just a lot going on. And so fortunately, it's kind of funny, my journey to EXP, for about a year, like in 2016, my would-be sponsor, his name's Pat Hayes. At the time I didn't know who he was really, but he started reaching out to me and trying to set up a meeting to like talk about this EXP thing. And I was like, dude, why would I ever want to do that? I've got my own brokerage. Like, I thought that was like the pinnacle. Like I thought that was the height. And I was like, why would I ever go backwards? That's the way I thought of it. And so I just blew him off for like a year, right? From like, from like early 2016 all the way until like 2017. It wasn't until I sat down with my CPA. I was doing my taxes. I was probably like, it was like middle of April, like the last, day to do them. And I'm sitting with my CPA at the very end. He goes, hey, by the way, do you know a guy named Pat Hayes? I was like, oh yeah. He's been reaching out to me, trying to tell me about this, EXP thing or whatever. And he's like, wow, well, Kyle, I'm telling you, I just did his taxes. And, he didn't tell me what he was making, but he was like, he's doing really good, as far as like residual income. Because my CPA knew, like, he knows me, like I've got a good relationship with him. So he knew like what I was into, what I was trying to, search for. And he was like, you really should maybe just take a meeting with him and see, what this thing's about. And so, your CPA, when, he sees his numbers, he sees my numbers, he tells you something, you take it a little bit more seriously. And so sure enough, I called Pat up after that meeting with my CPA. I was like, hey man, let's talk. I'm still probably not going to do it, but I just want to hear out what this thing is. And so, 30-minute meeting turned into like 3 hours. And sure enough, I was like, hey man, let's rock and roll. So that was April of 17 that I had the meeting. I ended up, moving everything over by, I think probably like in May, I was officially with EXP. And yeah. And so, came here, started fresh. My 15 agents that I had at the brokerage, I basically brought like 2 agents with me. The rest, they either, they were like part-time or whatever. So they just hung their license somewhere else or whatever. And I started brand new. And so I just kind of, from there, just, my journey began with EXP. I basically focused just on selling for about 8 months, my first 8 months with EXP, and just kind of transitioning and learning EXP. And then, come 2018 is kind of when I started my journey of like becoming more of like an attracting agent, where I wanted to grow my team and my organization at EXP. And then that just kind of started to take a life of its own.
And it's just so funny how your journey went on this different hoops. Like you started in real estate first because of your mother, because she knew a guy, and you moved to EXP because of your CPA. Like I don't think that story is is the same as anyone.
And it's funny now too, because now my mother joined EXP because she's got her broker's license. Nice. She ended up coming to EXP. So she's one of my agents. And now my CPA is getting his real estate license. And he's going to join EXP underneath me here pretty soon. So it all comes back full circle.
Yeah, there's a great synergy you have there in your team.
Absolutely.
So I think after that story, we kind of know the answer to the next question, but it's kind of a very important question to have. And usually we start with this after you tell your story. And maybe you have more to say is, why did you choose EXP?
Yeah, well, at the time, it's funny because my reason today, like what I know now is almost even different than the reason that I first signed up with EXP. The reason I signed up with EXP to begin with was I was just in so much pain, like, with my brokerage and everything, like on the surface, like most people, like agents that knew me, they thought that I had it all. Like they were like, oh, he's, a broker, he's selling all this real estate. Like everything looked really, really good. But what they didn't know was, for one, I had a ton of debt. Like, just to run the business, I had racked up like 100 grand on a credit card, and I was like negative. Like I was literally having to do all this extra stuff just so I could keep the doors open at the brokerage. Like I was flipping homes, I was selling lots of real estate, and I mean, I was probably earning $400,000 to $500,000 a year between all the different things I was doing, but I was only taking home like less than 80 grand a year because like everything else was going out the window. And so it was just from pain, really. I was like, man, when I sat down and talked to Pat, I was kind of like, I wasn't like open-minded. I didn't know about EXP, so I wasn't like looking for it. But when he kind of told me what I could do here, how I could basically run my business through EXP, use it as like a platform, essentially, take the risk and the liability off of my shoulders. I could take the overhead off of my shoulders. It was really like, oh my gosh, like I can get out of this pain that I've been feeling for so long and kind of start fresh. And so it was just like a really new opportunity. And so that's why I did it, to begin with. But now it's crazy because what I didn't expect is like when I came here at first, I was like, well, it's like a virtual brokerage. Like, I guess I'll probably still kind of be on my own, or at least that's what I thought, which I was used to that, like having my own brokerage. I felt like, I was like a lone wolf. Like I was always just kind of like doing things on my own. And so I was like, I figured that was just going to be like more of the same. But I think the biggest thing now at EXP that I've come to appreciate is the fact that like we get to do this with so many great people, and like the collaboration. I feel like I'm a part of a team. Like I have a team, and I also I'm a part of a team, like there's agents that help me along my journey that I would have never had access to, before. And so that's been something that like, I couldn't have gotten to where I am today had I not had that. And so, so I got in here, to get out of the pain, but now it's like, it's almost more of like, it's even a more pleasurable experience being here in the sense that like, my day to day, like getting to talk to people, it feels more like I feel more fulfillment from it versus like, even if I could have been successful with my independent brokerage, I still just felt like, just by myself. And that was just not a good feeling to have. It's funny, like even at my brokerage, like my agents didn't even know what I was going through. And like, so like, here I am as the broker, and I'm, I have them on an 80-20 split. And I'll never forget, like they would look at me and they'd be like, oh, well, that's the fat cat, like that was my nickname, like as if like I'm the one sitting back collecting all the money and all the checks. And it's like, man, if they only knew the half of it, like as far as like how much money was going out the door versus what was coming in. And but at the same time, like that's how I was viewed, and I hated being viewed like that. Now at EXP, I'm viewed like, I still can earn residuals, I can still get all that, but I'm looked at like, okay, well, hey, he's helpful. Like it's not like I'm taking anything from anybody. And so it's a much better feeling the way that we're doing it here at EXP.
Nice. And it seems like a life-changing decision that you had to do, and very good of you to make that step. Because sometimes people say, oh, I have my own brokerage, I can run my own business, and sometimes they don't worry about all the fires that they have to put down because they are the boss of themselves, so they're afraid of new opportunities. And it's good that you made that step with Pat Hayes. And can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm so.
Oh, yep. Sorry. Because your face started to go very slow. I think it was just okay, let's go on. I'll cut this part. So Kyle, if you could go back to the start of your career, what would you say to your younger self?
Yeah. Oh, that's a good question. I would say, so like if I was just kind of getting started back in the business, I mean, the thing that's helped me the most and I would say the same thing, because it worked for me, but like, if I went back is, to basically never kind of like stop learning and kind of like perfecting your craft. For me, like I have never been satisfied with just like being, average or whatever. And so like, I always want to learn everything I can about whatever it is that I get into. And so the thing that I would do different though, is like when I was just starting out, I tried so many different things, like all at the same time, versus I wished that like I would have had much quicker success if I would have focused like on one thing and gotten very, very skilled and very good at it. And then once like I had that humming along, move on to the next thing. But I was very scattered early on. And that kind of affected, it hampered what I could accomplish. And now I've seen, like, since I've, like, just in the last like couple of years, I've really put a major focus on creating content, like on my blog and on YouTube. And that's like been my sole focus. Like everything that I do is pretty much on that. And even still after 2 years, like I don't know everything, but I know a lot, like I'm pretty skilled in it now. And I wished that, like, early on in my career, I would have found something that, it doesn't have to be what I'm doing today. Like it doesn't have to be making content, but whatever it is that you do, align with, or whatever you want to get into, make it like do one thing and get really, really skilled at it. Learn, everything you can about it, associate yourself with other people that are doing it. And then just, be passionate about it. Like you're going to want to find something that you like. And so, that would be my deal if I started again, because back in the day I was doing everything. I was running Google ads, Facebook ads. I was like, calling for sale by owners and expireds, which I'll be honest, like today, I'm glad I kind of did all that, because like, if you go on my YouTube channel or you go to my blog, it's like, I've got a lot of different topics. Like I'm pretty wide as far as like my knowledge goes that I can share with people, because I've tried everything. But at the same time, it wasn't like the most effective route to like be the top salesperson right away. So you need that structure. You need to like basically just dumb down your business, simplify it, and really focus on one thing, and just, go from there.
Yeah, I saw you had a quite nice YouTube channel, and I saw you had a big focus on your social media as well with your Instagram. I haven't take a look on some video as well, so I can learn from your content. And you even share your complete guide on secrets around Instagram for real estate. Can you share some of them here with us today?
Yeah, for sure. Well, so, I mean, as we all know, I mean, like social media has been huge now lately for everybody, and Facebook is important too. But I've noticed like the trend in the last like 2 years, it seems like, Instagram is really a good, like it's a good place to be for real estate agents, I would say, even more so than Facebook, in my opinion. I think that, there's a lot of agents that are getting a lot of business from Instagram when you do it the right way. And so, one of the biggest thing is, like, I think Instagram now, what's kind of cool is it's becoming more like a searchable platform, which I think that's going to be a huge opportunity for agents coming up here into the near future. Because it's the same thing as like Google and YouTube, where those are, the top search engines in the world, and people go there to search for things. Well, now Instagram is going to start becoming that place as well. And so, how you caption your images, your videos, how you put your hashtags and all that kind of stuff is going to be super important. So, I mean, just be mindful of that. And really, you want to niche down, like figure out, who it is that you serve. And not just like, oh, well, my niche is San Antonio. Well, no, like, I mean, who's your ideal client? What types of things do they like? Like, where do they shop? Like, where do they eat? And become an expert more than just real estate, but become like your neighborhood or your city or whatever expert, and show up on Instagram where people are seeing all of that kind of stuff, right? So you're hashtagging your stuff. If you're going to, the farmers markets in your area, or if you're going to like, really cool places that are staples for where your ideal clients are shopping, or they're spending their time, you want to make sure that you're showing up on those different searches. And so, like, that's where I think people will start to find you. And then the biggest thing beyond that is just being consistent on social media. Like, I know so many agents that they get real passionate about it. They're excited. They go, they do all the stuff. And then like a week later, they stop posting or whatever. It's like, this is the long game. You've got to have a strategy in place to like be consistent with your posting. And whether that means like if you do, 3 posts a week or 5 posts a week, but you got to show up, if you're on Instagram, like on different spots. You got to be, keep your grid going, which is just like your normal posts, but also like if you can show up in stories, a few times per day. Stories is where I get a lot of messages. So like, clients and stuff like that, when they see my stories, whether it's like me doing a new, open house, or if I, get a new listing or whatever it is, that's where I end up getting most traffic, I would say, like actual conversions, is through my stories. So make sure you're not, leaving out stories, because it's so easy on a story for somebody just to like directly message you. And so that's a powerful tool right there. And then right now, I mean, the biggest thing that the algorithm's pushing on Instagram is Reels, so make sure you're showing up with Reels. It's a short, 1 minute or less video. You can use that to educate people. And I think this is another key point to make, is whether it's Instagram or any really, platform, it could be YouTube, Facebook, Google, if you have a blog. The biggest key I would say to getting more and more clients is to focus on education. Like, don't try and be always like that salesy person, like that you're only trying to like prove that, oh, well, I'm selling this, or I've got this open house, or I got this listing. Teach somebody something, right? Like, show people like, how they can go get pre-approved, what the process is like, teach people about their market and like the statistics in your area, and be that like educator for your ideal client. And I think that goes a long way, because then people see you not only that, it positions you as an expert, but they also see you as like somebody who gives back, that you're giving value. So most people want to work with people like that. And if you do that consistently and you're constantly, providing more and more value to your clients, you're going to get naturally like organic leads, and people that, that might be in your sphere, they're going to also see you as the expert. So they're going to be giving you the referrals, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, nice insights. And yeah, it's very important to be consistent, not only because of your audience, not only because of your followers, but also because of Instagram algorithm.
Yep.
It doesn't like when you skip a day. It's like,
No,
wait,
no.
Kyle, you're supposed to post today. Like, oh, you're going to post tomorrow. You're going to get less engagement. So
Exactly.
it's all also, of course, no one knows the reality and the truth around the Instagram algorithm, but there's something that we do know, and yeah, posting consistently is surely one secret to success. And yeah,
and that goes back to where, I was saying, like, some people say, well, I just don't have the time to, to do that. Like, I can't, well, then don't do that. Like, but that's why I say, like, if you're going to be an agent, and like, if I was to go back and give myself advice, that's why you have to be so specific about what you're going to do for your business. Like, only pick like one thing in the beginning, because, and maybe if your one thing was Instagram, well, then you better have time to do it, right? Like, if that's the only thing you're doing. But if you're trying to do, calling for sale by owners, if you're trying to, go knock on doors, if you're doing open houses all the time, well, then yeah, you're going to feel like you don't have time to do Instagram, and you shouldn't. You should pick one thing and be all in on that one thing. But if it is Instagram, then yeah, use the tips that we just talked about, and and kind of get started there. But yeah, don't spread yourself too thin, because then you're never good at, any one thing, right? Like, if you're trying to do too much, you'll never be great at any one thing.
yeah. And when you do those videos on YouTube and you post on Instagram and your website, are you trying more to promote yourself as a realtor or as an expansion team leader? So your clients will be like for selling homes or buying homes, or to get more attraction to new realtors?
Yeah. Now it's, so basically I've had a major shift in my business here in the last like 6 to 9 months. 100% of my content now is focused on like attraction and growing my organization and providing value back to realtors. Whereas in the past, it was all about trying to provide value back to buyers and sellers and getting business from them. But as of about 5 months or so ago, I stepped out of production. So I no longer actually sell personally. I still have my team here in San Antonio, that basically I just, they're like referral agents. So whenever I do get business, because I still get, deals that, people will send to me, whether it's other EXP agents or people like, that watch my channel on YouTube, like other agents in other parts of the country. If they've got referrals, they'll send them to me. And so I still have my team that can, service those leads, whether it's a listing or a buyer. But yeah, I mean, now all my content 100% is focused on, growing agents and helping them grow their businesses.
Yeah, and that's it. That's, as you said, you're following your own advice to focus on one thing and do that like a rock star.
That's right. That's right. And that's so, I mean, again, like I when I first started making the commitment to grow revenue share, like this was the thing. I joined EXP already. I'd been at EXP for like 8 months, and I hadn't, really recruited a single agent at that point. So I was, I joined in like May, June of 17. And then by like January or February of like 18, I still hadn't done anything. And what happened is eventually, I finally saw the vision first off, and I made a commitment like, hey, I've got to kind of separate myself from all of this other stuff that I'm doing, if I really want to make a go at the revenue share. And so what I basically did at that point, because all through 17, I was still flipping homes. So I think I flipped like 9 houses in 2017. So when 2018 came around, I said, look, I'm not flipping another home. I mean, because it was good money. I was making 20, 30 grand, for each house. And so, I mean, that was a lot of money that I was just like, I'm not going to do that anymore, because I had enough of a vision about EXP and what it could become that I knew it was worth it. So basically I stopped. I had a property management business that I got rid of. I stopped doing that. And then I also had my sales team, like my local sales team. We had about 4 or 5 agents at the time on my local sales team, where like I was giving them leads and doing all this type of stuff. And I had to kind of, disband that. Like they're still here at EXP. They're, agents, within my revenue share organization, but I kind of like disbanded the sales team. And I was like, look, we're all going to be individual agents at this point. And so that way, I got rid of all of these things off of my plate. So that way I could, basically make my business be only 2 things: selling real estate personally, like actually going out and helping buyers and sellers myself, and then building revenue share. And so like in the beginning, I spent maybe 10% of my time focusing on revenue share and 90%, servicing my buyer and seller business. But then as I started to get more success with the revenue share side, I could start to invest more and more time. So then it became like 50-50. And then now, most recently, now it's like 100% to 0, right? Like I kind of, but it was like a transition over a long period of time. It wasn't instantaneous, but I knew, like I said, at that point, if I was going to do this, I had to get rid of everything else on my plate, or otherwise there was just no way I would have been able to do what I've done.
Yeah, so you just hit that 500 agents in your organization last week, and you look excited from that.
Oh, I am. Yeah,
achievement.
It is. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, so you focusing on solely on getting more agents on your organization was basically what was behind your growth as an organization, right? How long did it take you? Was it like first year until 8 months you didn't have any referred agent, right? But on the years after, was it like 100, 200, and like 100 a year, or was it more exponential?
Yeah, it's more exponential for sure. Like that's the way that this grows, the whole revenue share opportunity is it's not linear. And that's the thing, as agents, we're used to like linear growth, and that's just what we kind of wrap our minds around. And so sometimes even getting motivated to start with revenue share is difficult because it builds so slowly and it almost feels like it's nothing in the beginning. And us as agents, we want like that instant gratification. Like we want that commission tomorrow, right? And with revenue share, it's not that way. And so you have to like overcome that in your mind first to like even make the commitment to put the effort in to go and actually go get it, because you're going to put a lot of work in the beginning and it's not going to provide a lot of results. Like, I mean, I was making $30,000-$40,000, a month in sales, like real estate sales, like pretty consistently as commissions. And so like, even when I was starting to get my revenue share and it was like $500 or $1,000 or whatever in a month, it was like, for as much work as I put in, I was like, man, like this is really like, that's all it is, I was like, it wasn't really moving the needle very much. But I had enough of the vision. Like I knew what the people before me had done. And I was like, if I just stay on this trajectory, like I will, I'll be there too. And so, I mean, it was, I had to overcome that in my mind. And then when I did, then now it's like, okay, so like 6 months ago, I was at half the amount of agents, or probably about 8 months ago, I was at, half the amount of agents that I was at now, like 250 agents. And it's like, it took me 3.5 years to get to 250 agents. And then now it just took me 8 more months to get 250 more agents. It's the same thing with 500. Like, now I'm at 500 and 8 months from now, I'll probably be at 1,000. And it's like, but it took me 4 years to get to 500. And so that's what we're just not used to. And the income is the same way too. So like, the income that I get is growing exponentially too. And so that's it gets really fun once the numbers start getting big. Then you're like, okay, I made the right decision. But in the beginning, I mean, it's years and years of hard work with, not as much of the payoff. But yeah, because like, honestly, like what I started to do, and I don't know how many people know this story, but like when I first start growing revenue, back to the search term EXP Realty, and people would search it. They'd come across a landing page that I set up. I'd give them a guide for filling out like their name, their email, and their phone number, and then I could start to follow up with them. And it worked really well. I was getting leads. I started recruiting people all over the country. And then in about the summertime of 2018 is when they came out with like the attraction pledge. and they said, you can't run ads anymore against, the term EXP Realty. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, what am I going to do? Like, this was my thing. Like, I thought that was like my ticket of how I was going to recruit. And, I had never had a lot of relationships with like big team leaders. I was never like a coach or anything like that. So I didn't really know anybody beyond just like who was, my friends here in San Antonio. And I was like, how am I going to do this now? And so that's when I had the thought. I was like, well, look, if I can't run ads against the search term EXP Realty, they can't stop me if I just come up organically. Like if I create content, if I learn how to blog, if I learn how to do YouTube, and I make videos and I make blogs and it just ranks, like they can't stop me for doing that, right? And so that's honestly when I started my journey. So like mid 2018, started up my YouTube channel, started up my blog, and then for about a year or more, I didn't really get a whole lot of traffic. Like, I mean, that's just, it takes a while to like for the algorithms like Google, SEO and YouTube, like the SEO and all the algorithms to really start picking you up to where they'll start showing your stuff. It took a while. So I was making content this whole time, spending a lot of time doing it. And I wasn't even getting that many agents, from it. And I definitely wasn't getting that much revenue share from it, but I still just knew, like I had this vision that like in the future, it would all pay off. And so I kept just moving forward, being consistent and showing up. And then sure enough, now it's like you do a search for EXP Realty, my videos will pop up, my blog posts will pop up. And so it was worth it, like now I've been able to grow what I've been able to grow because of the work that I put in early.
Yeah. And it's true. I can vouch for that. When you search EXP Realty, Kyle will show up with his face in his YouTube videos.
Yeah. Yep.
And yeah, it's definitely like SEO. Even you can see on my top right bottom right corner, or sponsor Ardor SEO.
Yeah.
It's basically how we work. So SEO, it's not next month results. It's a long-term commitment. But when it gets the results, it gets results that are even better than your predictions, So I believe it was the same that happened to you.
Yeah, for sure. And it's a whole different ball game too, because I used to come from like the ads game where I was always just running, Facebook ads and Google ads, and that's what I knew. And I didn't do a whole lot of the SEO. And now it's like that I'm on the SEO side of it and, ranking organically. I feel like I like this side better because not only am I ranking organically, I don't have to spend money on it, but then also I'm like providing more value than what I was providing back when I was running ads. Like ads are almost kind of like annoying, right? Like, people see them and they're effective, but you're not like really providing a huge value. Whereas what I've built with like, my blog and my YouTube channel, people see that as a valuable thing. And so then it helps me convert more, right? Because like when I'm running ads, like the conversion is so little because again, I mean, it's like a numbers game. Whereas with SEO and this value that I'm creating for all of the people, it's, my conversions are way higher because people want to work with me now. Like they see what I've done. Like they see that they want to be a part of what I'm doing. And so that's been a really cool, fun thing as well.
Nice, Scott. So where do you go from here then? What are your goals?
Yeah, well, I mean, honestly, at this point, I still, more of the same. Like, I love my organization. Like, I love the agents that I get to work with on a daily basis. I really am passionate to try and help them grow and grow their business because I know what it's done in my life. Like, I want it to happen in my agents' lives as well. We have such a great opportunity here at EXP that I think, is still completely undervalued. Like, as far as like the industry as a whole, like, I don't think that we've even scratched the surface with how big that will be, into the future. Like global opportunity that just is kind of, getting kicked off with EXP. But even, here in the US, like 60,000 agents, there's 2 million agents in the US. And so it's like, there's still so much opportunity. And so there's opportunity for myself, there's opportunity for my agents. And so I just want to keep, maximizing that opportunity and showing that there is a better model, a better way out there for agents. Because, I remember it, like I so vividly remember being on like that, commission kind of treadmill, that hamster wheel, where it's like, January 1 would roll around. And, even though I had a great year, if I would have made $200,000-$300,000 in sales, the year before, January 1 rolls around and you're starting back at zero and you got to go out there and do it all over again. And it just was not like there's a better way. And so that's why I got to keep spreading the message. I want to keep helping the agents that do, want to work with me. I want to make sure that, that they're hitting their goals and reaching that same thing that I have. And so that's it, just keep doing that. It's great to be able to do it now though, like out of like not necessity. Like, I mean, my financial needs are all covered and all that. So like, it's like now I'm doing it more of like just from passion and because I love what I do versus like having to do anything just because I need to make the money or something. And so, yeah, I just keep doing it. And that's my goal, at least for the next, 5 years, I would say 3 to 5 years. Beyond that, who knows? We love to travel, my family and I. So I'm sure we'll, be traveling. We're traveling all around the US right now, but eventually, we'd love to travel abroad and see, who knows, maybe we'll be traveling to different countries to talk EXP at that point. I don't know, but we love to travel. So I'm sure that'll be a big part of it as well.
Yeah, there's no limits to it.
No
dream,
limits.
dream big.
Yep, absolutely.
And I hope, Kyle, you can do it. And let me just shoot you now with the last question that I have to ask every guest, and it's a question that no one wants to hear, but everyone needs it for personal development. Is in what areas do you feel you need to improve, and what are you doing about it?
Oh, that's a good one. I think that I still need to improve as a leader. My leadership qualities. I've, very much like my approach thus far, like leading my organization is like, I've tried to lead by example, like just, do things myself and like hope people latch on and like see what I'm doing and want to be a part of it and like follow along with me. But I do know that there's actual like, qualities and traits and different things that I can, get better at to help motivate people maybe a little bit better, to help, take people with me versus just like, you're either here or you're not, like I really like, I'm passionate about other people and I just want to get better at trying to lead others and to get them to accomplish the things they want to do.
Nice. Or at least you motivated me, Cal.
Yeah. So, and what I want to do about it is, I think like it's funny. I just got back from a Tony Robbins thing. It was my first ever Tony Robbins event that I'd ever been to. And it was in Dallas here like 2 weeks ago, and amazing event. And that was a huge eye-opening experience for me. I'd love to start, going to more of those types of functions where it's like not necessarily like real estate focused or based, like all the conferences I've been to in the last 10 years have all been like real estate specific stuff. Like I hardly ever go to like just a conference to like work on myself or anything like that. And so now that's a big part of my goals, like moving forward, is to attend some kind of out of the industry, just like working on myself, mindset, that type of stuff.
Great.
Yeah.
And before we part ways here, Kyle, how can our audience reach you?
Yeah, well, I'd say the best way is social media. Send me a message on Instagram. That's probably the easiest way. Or email me. I do actually check my emails like multiple times per day. That's probably the very best way. Just Kyle@thehandyteam.com. Email me or send me a direct message on social, and that's really it. But yeah, you can definitely go on my YouTube channel. You can leave comments on there if you've got questions about specific topics that I talk about. I'm always responding to the comments. So whatever it is you need, like I say, I'm super passionate about it. I love to help agents, and just find me any way you can find me.
Great, Kyle. Thank you very much for coming. I'll see you soon.
Awesome. Thank you so much.